I was able to pick up 3 of these Tsareena EX Premium Collection boxes from Walmart's Black Friday sale for 20 bucks each. So I'm going to open them all right now as we get to talking about the Zimmermann telegram. Even though I said in my first video that world history is not my favorite, and now I'm talking about something else related to world history, you know, it just happens. So, first off, worth noting is that, I'm having some troubles here, is that World War I started in Europe in 1914, okay? But we didn't get into the war until 1917, so there was a big gap. Now, President Woodrow Wilson was the president at this time. He was elected in 1912, and then in 1916, he had a re-election slogan. His most famous re-election slogan was, "He kept us out of the war," because, I mean, obviously World War I, and at the time it wasn't called World War I, but you get the gist, at that time was happening in Europe, and it was killing a lot of people, and it was going very badly. And so we did not want to get involved in it. And so Woodrow Wilson kept us out of the war, as they say. Okay, so we have that. We also have this magnetic card holder situation. How do we open it? It's magnetic. Oh, okay, got it. Okay. And then a base for that too. So we'll just put that off to the side. And then we got some card sleeves with the different Pokeballs on it. Okay, then let's see what packs are real quick. So we've got Twilight Masquerade, Temporal Forces, Paradox Rift, Twilight Masquerade, Temporal Forces, Paradox Rift. Okay, so 2 of each. All right. So I'll just go here first. Okay, so he kept us out of the war, but that being said, there was some Americans who are dying. Okay, so most famously would be the sinking of the Lusitania in 1915, in May of 1915. There was a British passenger ship. There are questions about what did they actually have on board. Was it actually a civilian ship? That's pretty great. Okay, not bad. Okay, so that was the first Paradox Rift. But regardless, 100 Americans died. So over 1,000 people died total, but over 100 Americans died, and we still did not get involved. Okay, so that's just some context there. Fast forward to January of 1917. This is specifically January 16th of 1917. And we have what becomes known as the Zimmermann telegram getting intercepted by the British. Okay, so the telegram, let's go into Temporal Forces. The telegram was intended to go to the German ambassador to Mexico, Heinrich von Eckhart, from a German civil servant whose name is Arthur Zimmermann. So that's why it's called the Zimmermann telegram. So they knew that Germany knew that they were going to start doing unrestricted submarine warfare. And they thought that, okay, I hope that this helps stop the war. Like they were hoping, okay, if we go pretty hard here with this unrestricted submarine warfare, maybe it'll end the war. Maybe the British will stop this and we can all go home. But they also knew that, hey, you know, this might make the US get involved too. And if that's the case, then we should probably get our ducks in a row in case that ends up to, you know, happening. So what they said was, hey, we're going to start this unrestricted submarine warfare. Basically, hey, do you want to join our team? We know that you lost some territory to the Americans back in the Spanish-American War, and you lost New Mexico, Arizona, and some of Texas. And so, hey, we can work together. Let's be allies, okay? Now, the telegram also said, this is kind of an interesting side note, the telegram also said that the president, quote, the president of Mexico shall on his own initiative communicate with Japan. So I thought that was interesting too, and to offer to mediate between Germany and Japan, which is interesting. So basically, as soon as this was released, like as the telegram was sent, the British intercepted it. This is a long, complicated story. Again, I like when that happens back to back. I like that. This is a long, complicated story. There's a lot more to this than the video has time for. But the thing is that the British knew that they had some good stuff here that could change the game. But the way that they got this information was in a way that they didn't necessarily want people to know, because they were spying on American diplomatic channels. So that was kind of awkward. And they didn't want to reveal that they had broken the German code, because they wanted the Germans to continue using that code, and therefore, so that they could keep looking at their stuff, right? Okay, let's go to the next box. Open it up with my knife here. The other thing that the British were worried about in this situation was if the Americans thought that this would be fake. So they wanted to make sure that it was believable and that, they can prove that this is legitimate. Because again, they were also simultaneously trying to be like, oh, I don't want them to know that we are listening in on their business. So they had a little puzzle to deal with as well beyond the cryptography. They also had the puzzle of how do we release this information to the Americans, because we definitely need them to be our friends too. So there's that context as well. So all this is happening, and then again we have February 1st, 1917, the Germans do the unrestricted submarine warfare. So this is something, again, if you like World War II history, like this is right up that alley as well, because obviously untersea boats or U-boats are a big thing in World War II as well. Okay, so again, February 1 was the unrestricted warfare, submarine warfare, and that happened on February 1st. By February 3rd, America was like, okay, we're not going to be friends anymore. Like, we're not going to be diplomatic anymore, because this is not okay. So then you have on, I think I did Paradox Rift, yes, first. Okay, I'll put Paradox Rift together. Okay. We just condense here. Gotta put Pikachu towards the top. Temporal forces. Okay, Paradox Rift. Okay. So, the British had the intercepted telegram for a minute now at this point. And they had been basically dotting their I's and crossing their T's and making sure that, yes, this is legitimate. Yes, our code is correct. Our code breaking is correct. All of this stuff. Then they finally went to the Americans, and it went through like a chain of command, basically, where they gave it to British or an American diplomat in Britain. And at first the guy was like, this is so ridiculous, like this can't even be true. And so that was the thing that the British were afraid of them thinking, it's just a forgery. But then the British were able to prove that, no, this is legit. Like, it is bizarre, but it's also legit, unfortunately. So it goes through a couple of layers of command, again, of people showing their bosses. Oh, special illustration rare 2. Okay, I think that one's pretty good too. Okay, so that's the first, I think this one's an illustration rare 2. Okay, so we got Paradox Rift again, so let's put that here. Okay, then let's do Temporal Forces again. Wait, this is Twilight Masquerade. Okay, yeah. I'm getting confused over here with all these packs. Okay, so anyway. Paradox, Temporal Forces activated. Okay, so, again, it went through all these different channels, and then it was eventually brought to the president himself, President Wilson, in February 24th, okay, of 1917. So he was really mad. President Wilson was really mad. There's a lot of problems that I have with Wilson, which is for another video. But the thing about this, okay, so that's a good one, but it's not the one that we're really looking for. The thing about Wilson was that he turned the other cheek a lot when it came to the Germans. Probably too much. I would argue he turned his cheek a bit too much. But he was trying to do it for diplomatic reasons. Again, Americans were dying during this. However, he was trying to not do anything because he knew that it would be a world war, right? Even though we'd never had such a thing before. So then we have a semi-impulsive President, I almost said Mr. Wilson, President Wilson, because he wanted to release this. Like, he thought it was so absurd and so ridiculous that he was like, okay, let's just publish it. Like, let's just show the entire world what we intercepted. And he waited a little bit. He wasn't as impulsive as he could have been, which is understandable, and that's fine. Now, here's the thing. You'd think that this would be pretty much a slam dunk. You'd think, okay, you get this telegram. It's absolutely ridiculous. To ask our neighbor to the south, hey, do you want to gang up on them, and we can make it worth your while? Like, that's just absolutely ridiculous. Okay, but the thing is that it was not as much of a slam dunk as people might have expected. Sorry. Okay, last box. So the thing is, one of the many reasons why we weren't in the war at this point, or by this point already, is because, again, it's a little bit more complicated than just they're killing our people, let's go to war. Because, again, it's just, everything is more complicated than that. But there's two things particularly about this whole situation. We're going to put everything else off to the side temporarily, and I'm going to take out the packs. So the fact that Mexico is involved here plays a role for a couple of reasons. So the first one is simply that there was a lot of racism against Mexicans at this time from Americans for a few different reasons. I mean, there's been a lot of tension between the two countries. There was the, Spanish-American War. But that was a while ago from this time. What was more recent, let's do Paradox Rift again. What was more recent, though, in this situation was Pancho Villa. Pancho Villa at this time, in March of 1916, he had actually gone into New Mexico. He had gone into Columbus, New Mexico, and did some damage over there. And so he had, actively invaded the United States of America. Now, to be fair, that was not a one-sided situation, because then you have General Pershing going into Mexico and crossing borders and doing things as well. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is two-sided situation here. But the thing is, again, when we combine that with the racism that was happening, it makes it a little bit more of a thing, right, than just a joke. Like, it's not necessarily a joke. But there is another thing at play here too, which is that one of the major reasons why America did not, okay, we got something good there. One of the major reasons why America was not involved in World War I at this point, even though it had been going on for years, is because we had a lot of people who were, I haven't never seen that one. That wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. We have a lot of American immigrants, or people who are Americans, from Irish and German descent at this time. And so if, you know, the two major sides here are Germany and England, we're going to have some problems as to which side of this war we should be on. And so, again, it was a little bit more complex than what people potentially were making it seem like. Because of this, I like that one. Because of this as well, man, I'm not getting a lot of good stuff. I mean, I got some good stuff, but not great. Last, temporal forces. In addition to all of that, because again, nothing is simple. Okay, in addition to all of that, you also have a fairly strong pacifist, isolationist movement happening in America at this time, who is not interested in getting involved in other people's business. So regardless of what, you know, some Americans' heritage is, I got that one again. They just didn't want to get involved. It's European business. I've never seen that one either. It's European business, so I don't need to be up in somebody else's business, which is understandable. Okay, so we got 2 packs left. We got Twilight Masquerade. Okay, so that being said, though, this Zimmerman telegram, it didn't immediately bring us into the war, but it sure did bring us into the war, because now it's in our backyard. Okay, now whether or not Mexico would have even ever taken this seriously or would have ever done anything about it is extremely rare. They were 7 years into the Mexican Revolution, and they still had a few more years to go. They didn't know that, obviously, but they had a few more years to go. So they were busy. They were busy, and they had other stuff to deal with, stuff that was happening in their own country. So they're not really going to go over to Europe or do something like that. The other thing was that in this potential deal, Germany said that they would give Mexico some money. But Mexico had actually asked for some money earlier to help make their bank, and the Germans weren't even able to give that. So then it's like, okay, well, are you even telling the truth? Like, is that even a possible thing? Is it worth it? Is it worth to make my northern neighbor so mad at me, who already has a general who's going around trying to handle some business? So that was the Zimmerman telegram and 3 boxes of this Tsareena EX. Some good stuff, not the greatest, but let's see what happens next.